What's up, First Thing First listeners? It's your boy Shay Sharp, co-host of FS1's Undisputed. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay Shay, where we always do something before two something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay Shay, I've welcomed in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now, back to First Things First.
First things first, I got some questions for you. Will Deshaun Watson really join Brandon Marshall's JETS Jets? Will Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes really be the AFC's next great quarterback rivalry? And could LeBron James really win the MVP in year 18? Good Tuesday morning, everyone. Jenna Wolfe, Brandon Marshall, Kevin Wildes, Nick Wright, Mr. Nick Wright, LeBron James, year 18. Is this LeBron's title to lose now?
Oh, it's his title to lose, and it might become his MVP to lose pretty soon. Watch out now, Brandon. Watch out.
Whoa.
All right, we will get to LeBron's big night, but we got to start in Tampa, where one could make a case the Bucs would not be here had Tom Brady not gone there. This was a team with weapons, but without a quarterback, while Tom Brady was a quarterback without weapons. Put them both together, look who's going to the Super Bowl. Bruce Arians was asked after the NFC Championship about how Brady has changed the entire culture in Tampa. Take a listen.
You wanted number 12 to come down and become a part of this mission and this group, Bruce. How do you describe what he has meant to make this moment a reality?
This trophy, the belief he gave everybody on this organization that this could be done. It only took one man.
All right, Brandon, how much credit does number 12 deserve for getting the Bucs to the Super Bowl?
All of the credit. You got to think about where this organization was. This is an ultimate team sport, and he is the ultimate leader. So what Bruce talked about was belief. He didn't talk about on Sunday. Where Tom Brady is most valuable is Monday through Friday. When he walks in that building, and we talked about this yesterday, when he walks in that building, he pushes everyone to be better. He elevates everyone's game. He elevates everyone's process. He's the type of leader, the ultimate leader. When you see him, you're like, man, could I study a little more? Could I get that extra rep in the weight room? Should I stay after practice and catch another 100 balls on the jugs machine? The coaches out there, they don't want to disappoint him. So when you think about Tom Brady and where he's at his point of his career, he's more valuable Monday through Friday than he is on Sunday. Sunday, like I said last Friday, Sunday, I need you to be phenomenal when it comes to situational football. Lead us before the half to get points on the board. Lead us in a 2-minute drill. Don't make those mistakes that you just made. If they do that, this team is scary. They're scary this year. Obviously, they're in the Super Bowl. And even next year, you're going to be better because you have time to build that chemistry and continuity, Nick.
So here's the thing. It's tough to argue with the results. And it's tough to argue with what the men around him are saying. This Tampa Bay Bucs team could have let go of the rope. And I think in many years they would have. They had 4 games to start the second half of the season before their bye. They went 1-3. They got dog walked for a second time by their divisional rivals. They then got beat soundly by the Rams and seriously beat down by the Chiefs, down 27-10 going into the fourth quarter before some late touchdowns made it appear close when it wasn't. Then you have a bye. We're in a pandemic. You have the last bye of the season. You're a 7-5 team that's okay. And they haven't lost since then. And to a man, the people around Tom Brady, Wildes, keep giving him credit. Now, I think some of that's strategic. I think Bruce Arians learned early in the year, I'm better off just heaping praise than any type of criticism on Tom, or else the media minions will come after me. But, Wilds, I do think that what we are seeing in the two sports we talk about the most is, in basketball and football, it is one thing to be great on the field. It is another thing entirely to be a great leader of men. And right now, the best leaders are the ones competing for championships. And even if Brady's skills have deteriorated somewhat, and I would argue more than somewhat, his leadership ability has not. And I have to give him credit for that.
Okay.
That's right.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. That is good for Nick Wright as the person in society of saying, you know, being more, I would say, kind, Nicholas, and more understanding. I don't know if it's good for the show, because I prefer Nick Wright. Tom Brady doesn't have it anymore. But right now, we're in the intangible leadership of Tom Brady has run wild, and if you're not going to put it in check, somebody has to, and I guess it's my job. You're apologizing. Brandon, literally on this show yesterday, if we can run back the tape, said that Tom Brady makes the, I want to quote it correctly, landscaping crew better. And now LeBron, after a big game yesterday, said he was inspired by Tom Brady. So there's a lot of intangibles. He's like the Sedona, Arizona of football players. It's just like, oh, it's just the energy. It just makes me feel better. There is one tangible thing I want to talk about, which is the defense. Todd Bowles' defense was great last year. In fact, they probably had a Super Bowl-worthy defense. Here's the problem. The points per game, 28 points per game. Now it's 22 points a game. Why is that? Well, last year, they had 41 giveaways. This year, it's down to 17 with only 12 interceptions by Tom Brady. So the fact that Tom Brady didn't throw the ball to the other team is another big factor, besides all the intangible leaderships, which I think are slightly overrated right now. And I know people are going to be like, hey, Wilds, what about the landscaping? It's a fair comment, but it's more so that Jameis Winston was going on during the game and pouring Roundup weed killer all over the landscaping. Like, just don't do that, and that will help us out a lot. Go ahead, Nick.
I agree with that, and I want to throw it to you, Brandon, because you can speak to this from the experience part. I'm going to think back to a moment from a different quarterback. Patrick Mahomes in the first playoff game last year, when everything was going wrong. Tyreek Hill muffs a punt. There's drops all over the place. It's 24-0. And Patrick Mahomes is pacing the sideline, grabbing every guy and saying, just make one play. Just make one play.
That's right.
We're fine.
That's right.
It's similarly, by the way, what they did with McCole Hardman this week. McCole muffs a punt. Kelsey goes to him. Kelsey goes to him. He goes, we're going to get it right back to you. That I do think is real. And I do think, Brandon, as a guy, you've been on these teams, and you know the difference between a real leader at quarterback and a guy who, when things are going great, he's great, and when things are going bad, he's bad. I do think that instills a confidence in his teammates that truly affects their ability to win games.
I just got goosebumps just thinking about it. That's something that, you know, a lot of us study when we're in that locker room. It wasn't just Travis Kelce. You went back to Patrick Mahomes last year, and then you went back to this Sunday. Patrick Mahomes was the first one to harden. Patrick Mahomes was the one that went to him and said, pick your head up. He said, be you. We're going to be okay. And they're down 9-0. And there was guys like me at home like, yes, the Chiefs are going down. I'm having an excellent day. Monday going against Nick Wright. My predictions came true. But it was the leadership that got them over the hump. And really quickly, Jenna, I go to Ryan Fitzpatrick here. He made us better. He came into the huddle after Geno Smith went down, and he just said one thing. He said, guys, relax. We're going to be okay. And he made us all better. And what did we do? We elevated our game. This is a team that was in rebuild mode, and we went 10 and 6. So when you talk about leadership, wow, it's the most important thing because talent only takes you so far,
Yep.
Jenna.
And you got your two best leaders at that position going head-to-head in Mahomes and Brady in Super Bowl 55. Take a turn, talk some Lamar Jackson now. His Ravens dealing with some uncomfortable questions about guys wanting to play with him. We'll discuss that next. First things first. Hey, First Things First listeners. I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com, reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports. Plus, a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, as well as the televised version of this show, just a click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. So download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com. We got to get back to the NFL. The Baltimore Ravens reportedly set to start extension talks with Lamar Jackson. Things they should consider in those talks. Number one, this Lamar-led offense has been prolific on the ground. But number two, league worst off the ground, as their pass game has some questioning whether top receivers actually want to play with Lamar. Ravens GM Eric DeCosta was asked about that. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Players want to play with Lamar Jackson. You know, I really do kind of laugh at the notion that players don't want to come here and play with Lamar because he's one of the very best young players in the NFL. And we've got a lot of other young players as well that fit that criteria. So I think it's a great place to play. I think people want to play here. I think it's a team that's positioned well for the future.
Boom! Drop the mic that's glued to the desk. A number of top receivers on the free agent market this offseason. Random, Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, Kenny Golladay, Will Fuller, Juju, maybe OBJ, who knows, just to name a few. So, Brandon, do the Baltimore Ravens
OBJ.
need to add a star receiver to take Lamar to the next level?
Oh, you snuck OBJ in there. Isn't he still with the Cleveland Browns? But I like it. I like what you're trying to do
I'm just saying,
there.
I said maybe.
I like that.
It's a possibility.
But Jenna, 100% they need a wide receiver. Every team needs a number one wide receiver that can beat one-on-one. This is a smart organization, but they sound really dumb right now. I'm sorry, for lack of a better terms, like I gotta go with that. This is a smart organization. This is a well-run organization. So I'm baffled by the fact that they continue to double down on this whole Lamar Jackson and running attack. Like, a wide receiver is not going to come there because as a wide receiver, we get paid to catch the ball. So are you going to pay a top wide receiver $20 million to block on first, second, and third down? There's a philosophical issue. They need to figure it out. Maybe internally they're having these discussions on what they need to do. They're not just telling us, but they need to figure out how to develop that passing game. If I was a wide receiver and I knew Greg Roman was going to bring me in and say, Brandon, we're going to put you at X, backside, short side of the field. You're going to get one-on-one matchups, and we're going to throw you the ball. When it's first down, and it's one-on-one, third and short, press coverage, one-on-one, you're going to get the back shoulders, the go balls, the slant routes, the 9 stops. I will absolutely go there. This is the perfect place for a wide receiver because you have to think about it. When you're a dog receiver, you're a number one wide receiver, Nick, you are going to get coverage. You're going to get roll coverage, cover 2. You're going to get a double. You're going to see so much stuff in the red zone. They're going to vice you. So the only thing that can get that coverage off of you is a run game. So when you think about Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, what have they done the last 2 years? They've done something that no other team has done. They went for 3,000 yards on the ground back-to-back seasons. So as a wide receiver coming, I'm like, that's where I want to go because I know I'm going to get one-on-one coverage. But Greg Roman has to develop this passing game. If the offense is going to look the same way, no wide receiver will go there, Nick.
Well, yeah, you're going to get one-on-one coverage, but for a long time, the wide receivers at Georgia Tech got one-on-one coverage too, but that's because they never threw him the ball because they were running the triple option. Now, Calvin Johnson did happen to go there, and he turned out all right, but typically, the Ravens run their team like we've seen a ton of great high school teams run, where your best athletes at quarterback, your next best athletes at running back, your next best athletes at fullback, and you're just running the ball 45 out of 50 plays. And I know it's not quite that discrepancy, but that is, compared to what the rest of the NFL does, it kind of is. So I agree with Eric DeCosta. If I'm an offensive lineman, there's no place I'd rather go. Offensive linemen don't like going back on their heels and pass blocking. They want to run block. If I'm a defensive player, of course I want to go there. If I'm a tight end, I think it sounds good. If I'm a running back, you bet. If I'm a wide receiver, I don't know, man. No. And I think the Ravens know it, which is why they've prioritized wide receiver in the draft. After Lamar's first year starting, they drafted Hollywood Brown, in the first round, Miles Boykin in the third round. This past year, they drafted Devin Duvernay in the third round. They've spent 3 top 100 picks on wide receivers in the 2 years of drafts they've had post-Lamar. Because I do think it is going to be hard to convince a wide receiver that it's going to be fun to play there. I think that he looks around and says, I'm going to be asked to do the least fun thing a wide receiver is asked to do, block, and I'm going to not have a ton of opportunities to do the thing every wide receiver wants to do, catch touchdown passes and catch a bunch of passes. So one name that wasn't on the list that I do wonder if they might have an in with is Antonio Brown. Hollywood Brown's cousin. I don't think you're going to have to pay super big dollars for him. But if I'm Chris Godwin, ties do not go to the Ravens, Wilds. The money is going to have to be demonstrably more for me to go there, because I feel like my numbers are going to suffer when you consider Lamar has more rushing yards than any receiver has receiving yards since he's been the starting quarterback.
Yeah, the Ravens tax. I didn't think about that. That's super interesting. And I love the Antonio Brown there. But I wonder if and Brandon, you've talked about this, that the wide receiver's future and performance is not in his own hands. That you can sort of flare up when you feel like you're being underutilized. We even saw Hollywood Brown was out there for like 90% of the snaps, and he was only throwing a handful of balls. He's like, can you throw me the ball? And I wonder what the Ravens organization looks like, Brandon, when they watch the games on Sunday, and they're like, seems like the ball sure is flying around the field. Seems like Aaron Rodgers had a lot of touchdowns this year. Seems like Tom Brady sure did have a lot of touchdowns. Oh, Russ wasn't in there. Oh, Patrick Mahomes. So 4 of the 5 touchdown leaders were playing this Sunday. Brandon, I don't know how the Ravens watch this weekend's games and still are that committed to the run.
Yeah, well, here's the issue, Wilds. Last year, Lamar Jackson's MVP season, he led the league in touchdown passes. I think he threw, 36, 37 touchdowns, led the league.
36 is right.
MVP. Yeah. And that's the issue, is that they're thinking that they can get back to that. They think that they can continue to run the ball the way they are and go back to what that passing game was. But what have I done all year? I've really talked about Greg Roman and his time in San Francisco with Colin Kaepernick. They started off hot, and then they start trending in the wrong direction in every major category for a passing quarterback, because teams know exactly what you're doing. You're too predictable. Go back to the Steelers game this year. What did Lamar Jackson say after the game? He said they were calling out our plays. They knew exactly what we were doing. So this is a huge issue, and that's why I say it's a philosophical issue, because Greg Roman needs to build more chemistry and continuity around what they're doing from the passing game and how it connects with the run game as well.
Yep. And 2 quick points. And if we can get the graphic we started the segment with ready, I'm going to call for it in a second, the one with the 5 receivers. But I think the Ravens need to approach the next regular season the way, I'll make that point in a second. The guy on here that I think they should target is Allen Robinson. Because Allen Robinson, no matter what anyone thinks of Lamar, he's not Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles. And I think they can be like, Allen, I know you think it might not be great here, but you have been great with Mitch Trubisky. So I think like the upgrade for Allen Robinson might be attractive to him. Kenny Golladay maybe as well, but I think Detroit will keep him. But really the point I was going to make, and I'll finish it quickly, is if anyone's ever taken high school foreign language, there's usually a teacher that from day one only talks to you in that language. And you're like, I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what the homework is. I don't know what to do. But it is to prepare you to be better by the end of the year. The Ravens need to approach this next regular season like that. Where, you know what? We might start 1-3. But it's going to be because we are trying to get out of our comfort zone. We are throwing the ball a lot. So by the end of the year, we're used to it. So by the end of the year, it doesn't feel like a foreign language. It feels more natural. So I think, Jenna, that's the approach they need to consider taking next year.
For me, it was Mrs. Novak. On parlait seulement en français, n'a à jamais. All right, time to get Nick's NBA medals. Nets taking down the Heat last night behind some solid contributions from the big three, 20 apiece for Harden and KD. But, my friends, not quite medal worthy. So, Nick, who did earn a medal, which I was going to ask in French, but you wouldn't understand it, and then this segment would go haywire.
Two guys that have a combined 6 MVPs between them and a future MVP earned medals last night. Bronze medalist. Don't count him out yet. One Wardell Stephen Curry. Not sure I love those uniforms, but I loved his performance last night. 36 points as they blow out the Timberwolves. Keep in mind, the Warriors' extra incentive last night. They have the Timberwolves draft pick this year, top 4 protected. Silver medalist, just racking up the medals. Already the greatest Olympian in the history of Slovenia. My large adult Slovenian son, Luka Doncic. A nice, lazy 35, 11, and 16, but they lost. Luka, you lost. I can't give you the gold. And even had you won, you wouldn't get the gold because of this guy. 46 points. How about this? 44 points on 18 of 20 shooting in the first half and the fourth quarter. Not a great third quarter. 46, 8, and 6, season high for LeBron, Raymond, James. Brandon, there are your medalists for last night.
Listen, LeBron was phenomenal. LeBron is one of those guys that's elevating this game. And what is this, year 18, 19? It's ridiculous.
18.
But
18.
Nick, how much you've been talking about defense in the NBA? I would have thought that you would at least had all of the Nets as the bronze, the silver, and the gold. They held the Heat to 85 points. Come on, brother.
It's a good point. 85 points is usually what they give up in a half, and they gave it up in a game. You know what? I thought about it. I thought about giving them all 3 of them for the defensive performance. They just missed it, though, Jenna. They just missed it, but it's a great point. It's a great point.
Okay, so your podiums have been filled, but Wilds, who did just miss, in your opinion, Nick's podium?
Oh, you know, people are saying the league is getting soft and people want to return to, like, you know, rough and tumble basketball. Well, here you see it. SGA will probably get a suspension for throwing Gary Trent Jr. around. Like, I think this is how long he'll be suspended for.
Like,
I don't know. Probably a huge fine, maybe 10 games, maybe more. So the Thunder are going to have to deal without SGA after he gets suspended for tossing, viciously throwing Gary Trent Jr.
That is fantastic.
Look at him smiling.
Back to the NFL now as we take a wild ride on the quarterback carousel. Who could go where and how and why? We got you covered. This is First Things First.
I like the little carousel graphic.
Hey, First Things First listeners. It's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People's Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you. Now, back to First Things First.
All right, put on your fake, way too loose seatbelts here on First Things First. It is time to take a ride on the quarterback carousel. Those things never fit with an unprecedented number of starting quarterbacks on the move this offseason. A new report says Matthew Stafford is looking to steer his way to Indianapolis. That after he and the Lions agreed to part ways. So, Nick, would Matt Stafford be a good fit on the Colts?
Oh, yeah. I happen to think almost any of these quarterbacks on the move could be a good fit on the Colts. I like their coach, love their offensive line. When healthy, they have a good defense. I think they could probably use an upgrade at wide receiver. T.Y. Hilton is getting a little up there in age and less reliable injury-wise. But, yeah, I think Stafford would be a great fit on the Colts. And organizationally, going from what has been just a carousel of dysfunction in Detroit to what Chris Ballard is building in Indy makes a lot of sense. And bonus take, Brandon, that all of a sudden is a super winnable division. The Jags are in a rebuild around Trevor Lawrence. The Texans are a total mess, and the Titans are good, but I don't think great. So yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense with Stafford and Indy, Brandon.
Yeah, I echo what you already said, Nick. I absolutely love this organization, starting with Chris Ballard. Chris Ballard was a guy that I spent time with in Chicago. Still have a relationship with him to this day. He is a football guy. Frank Wright, he is a football guy. So when you think about Matthew Stafford being at the bottom of the barrel in the NFL for the last 12 years, you want to be around guys who's going to give you just football. Like the football makes sense. There's no drama. There's no chaos around what you are doing. This is the perfect place for him. Like you said, great offensive line, got a young wide receiver, defense is really good, and this is a guy that you can throw into the system. Frank likes to do everything. He likes drop back. He likes quick game. He likes throwing it down the field. He likes keeper, boot. He likes all of that stuff. This dude's football IQ is out of this world.
Yeah, well, when you talk about no drama and football IQ, I don't know if Indianapolis is a spot. I will make it a quick argument for Indianapolis. Philip Rivers, who's like, you know what, I'm cooked, threw for 10th most yards in the entire league. So I think if I'm Matthew Stafford, I'm looking around being like, I could probably go there. If he was through for 10th most, I'm better than him. But, Brandon, like you were saying, high football IQ, no drama, winning culture, needs a quarterback. You get an opportunity to play with Hall of Famer Julian Edelman, whose knee is on the mend.
That's not even his arm. Look at those little biceps. Every time you show me this, it's not even a good fit. He doesn't even look good in the uniform.
He doesn't even wear those bracelets.
Okay. You know what? We'll put him in the white uniform. We'll put him in our color.
We just poured water all over him.
Please.
All right, moving on.
Everything.
It was reported, since top trade destination is the, Brandon, you sitting down for this, buddy? The New York Jets.
What?
The Jets followed by, yes, my friend, that followed by the Miami Dolphins. So, Brandon, where would you rather see Deshaun next year? The Jets or the Dolphins?
Don't ask me that
New York
question.
or Miami?
Don't ask me that question. Don't ask me that question. Yes, I live in Miami, but my heart's in New York. It's actually in Florham Park. I'm a guy, I travel with my helmet. So you guys know I live in Miami. I flew to New York yesterday. I'm walking through the airport with my helmet. Absolutely. It's going to be. You guys laughed at me. What? I can't travel with my helmet, Nick? I'm a Jets guy. I love this.
You're not at home.
Really quickly.
You're in.
Because of all of this, because everybody laughed at us when we lost the #1 pick. Oh, the Jets can't do anything right. The Jets. And then all of a sudden, we got Deshaun Watson, who could potentially be the Jordan of football. That's what was said, 4 or 5 years ago. Jets, Jenna.
All right.
Okay.
All right, Nick.
All right. Wilds and Jenna, you guys are about to be mad at me. Because I'm about to potentially, I don't know if it's worth it or not, but I'm doing it. I might do irreparable damage to this television show right here. All right. What Jack Easterby is doing to Cal McNair, the Svengali-like stuff, whispering in his ear and mind-melding him, I am deeply concerned Brandon Marshall has done the same thing to Deshaun Watson. Now, I have no evidence that Brandon and Deshaun know each other, but the evidence I have is that Deshaun is now showing a preference for the Jets over the Dolphins. It's like, oh, I love Robert Saleh. I like him too. But Brian Flores, we know he's a great coach. Oh, the Jets could build a defense. The Dolphins have a defense. Oh, the AFC East is winnable. The Dolphins are in the AFC East. What? I don't understand it. Deshaun, oh, it's like, oh, New York's a great city.
New York,
yeah,
baby.
So is Miami.
New York. Where do you live?
Hey,
Where do you live?
With the money.
You think you're the only one that want to enjoy Harlem?
Guess what? With the money that Deshaun will save in state taxes, he can buy a private jet and go to Brooklyn whenever he wants. Go hang out with Brandon.
But then he can't.
Why would you rather?
But then he can't enjoy Red Roosters when he wants to.
Okay, listen, it would be fun to hang out with Deshaun at Red Rooster. That's true. But I don't understand it, Wilds. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
I totally agree. Well, and Brandon, you know I love you. And you know, you're always talking about the Brooklyn Nets, and you got your Jets helmet there. You talk up a lot about New York. And then we're like, hey, because we never know where anyone is, because Brandon's got multiple, jobs and businesses. And we're like, hey, Brandon, where are you? He's like, I'm in Florida. It's nice out here, guys. It's really good. He does it every other week. I'm in Florida. Hey, what's the weather there, Wilds? 22? Oh, I just was outside playing with my kids. I'm like, I've been in my basement freezing cold. So I think Miami is more interesting although Jets are getting all the headlines, Jenna.
Wilds needs heat in his basement. Fox Bet Sportsbook has set the odds on Aaron Rodgers' team for next season. They've got his current team and only team, the Packers, favored, followed by the Colts, the Broncos, the Steelers, and the Rams. Brandon, would it be a mistake for Rodgers to play anywhere other than Green Bay next season?
Yeah, if one of two situations doesn't present itself, I think Green Bay gives him the best opportunity. It's hard to say, because I feel like they've wasted his career. I've said that all year. But when you look at this team, they're not far off. They're a Charles Woodson type of player away from actually competing for a Super Bowl. They need a playmaker in the secondary. So those two situations that I think he should really consider if they present himself is the San Francisco 49ers. It's the LA Rams if they can pull it off. But outside of that, I would think that Rodgers and his camp would sit down and try to figure out what they can do to help this organization make the best decisions moving forward. He needs to have a seat at the table and potentially be in the draft room.
And I would argue that while a Charles Woodson type player would be amazing, I would argue they're 0 players away from competing for a Super Bowl. They are an Allen Lazard drop 2-point conversion away from having the ball with 2.5 minutes left, first and goal, down 6, to go to the Super Bowl with the roster as is. But more importantly, those Fox Bet odds, America, I don't say this lightly, and Fox Bet might get mad at me here, but I can deal with the heat. They posted the odds. Free money alert. It should be minus 100,000 that he's on the Packers week 1 next year. The fact that it's only minus 250 and you could put $250 to win $100, $2,500 to win $1,000, $25,000 to win $10,000, whatever you got. It's the return on your investment. You're going to get 37.5% return. I'm doing this quickly in my head. Yeah, 37.5% return in 7 months. That's better than any S&P 500 hedge fund. The only thing better right now is GameStop stock. America. Minus 250 for Rodgers to be on the Packers next year might be the greatest wager I've ever seen.
Leave your money in the bank.
I'm just telling you.
I love it.
I'm telling you.
I love it.
The greatest wager I've ever seen, Wild.
I got tricked after the press conference. I was like, he's going to go. And then I started to request my Patriots Photoshops, and they're like, no, hold off, Wild. I'm like, Here's the reason, Jenna, besides everything Nick just said. When Matt LaFleur was asked about that, his response was so forceful. I'm like, yeah, he's not leaving. It was exact opposite of what we saw like McVay talk about Jared Goff, or when Shanahan talks about Jimmy G. He's like, is he leaving? Like, he better not. He's the heart and soul of his team. He's not going anywhere. So I feel like the organization still wraps their arms around Aaron Rodgers. He's not going anywhere. I will be betting that money.
Pushing, but he's going to be pushing. But he can be pushing away. He can be pushing away.
Nobody thought that Tom Brady would really leave. We got to talk Buffalo Bills now. Will they be the Chiefs' big AFC rival for years to come? Josh Allen seems to think so. Toss that around next for 6 first.
Jenna,
A lot of those things surprised everyone.
And he was a free agent.
On Sunday, UConn goes back-to-back on Fox First. The third-ranked women's team takes on number 17 DePaul. And then it's the men's team battling St. John's. It is all Sunday, 12:30 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Back here talking some Buffalo Bills. You got to admit, pretty magical season for this Bills team. Folding table sales soared. Nick was doused in condiments. And Josh Allen played his way into the MVP discussion as the Bills played their first AFC title game in 25 years. Josh Allen said after the game, "We will be back," to which Nick whispered under his breath, "No, you won't." Brian Westbrook joining us now. Brian, let's start with you. Will the Bills be contending in the AFC for years to come after what you saw this season?
Good morning, Jenna. You know what? I think they will. And it really all starts with your head coach, Sean McDermott, a guy that I spent some time with in Philadelphia, a man with great character and integrity. And he's brought that character and culture to the Bills locker room. And I think that's going to be a big part of their sustained success. Another thing that I think is great for the Bills is that thus far they've been able to hold on to their coordinators. Brian Dable, their offensive coordinator, as well as Leslie Frazier, the defensive coordinator. They're still going to be there next year unless they get a coaching job here in the next couple of weeks. And having that continuity with your play caller is huge as far as moving forward, as far as the success of your football team. Last but not least, you got a young quarterback in Josh Allen on a rookie contract, and we saw how much better he got from last year to this year. He understands the value of the offseason and the ability to get better in that offseason. And so because of those reasons, I think that this team certainly will be contending for a long time in the AFC. But, Brandon, I want to ask you this, because this is what I believe. I saw a team, and Nick, you'd probably be able to answer this as well. I saw a team in the Buffalo Bills standing across the field from the Kansas City Chiefs, and I had to believe that they were thinking that they're not on the same level as the Kansas City Chiefs right now. And it's my belief that it's sometimes when it takes you losing in games like this for you to be able to win these games, to be able to see how much further you need to be and how much further you need to go in these games. And because of all those things, I think that the Buffalo Bills will be contenders in the AFC for years to come.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about everything. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. But there's two major things that they need to get over the hump. One, they just need to have that one type of moment, whether it was the game that they just lost, maybe it's next year they go on a run where they built this confidence, where they believe they can be on the same field with the Kansas City Chiefs. There's a difference between stepping on the field with teams that you know you should be or teams that you know, like, man, they're just next level. Every year we played Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, we went out there, it was like, man, that team is just different. Those guys are just different. So they need to build up a psyche to where when they go out there, they think that they belong. And the second thing, and you would appreciate this, B, they need a running game. Like Coach Daboll, I love Coach Daboll, but if they develop a running game, it is lights out for everybody else in the AFC. We're talking about Aaron Jones is out there, Chris Carson. I will give Chris Carson the biggest bag ever because what he'll do for this offense. And then you also have Le'Veon Bell. I don't know how much he has left in the tank. I know he chose the Chiefs over the Bills, but he's a guy that I may bring in. I may bring in Chris Carson and Le'Veon Bell. If they do those two things with everything that you said, B, Nick, I truly believe this team will be here not only for 1 year, but for years to come, like Jenna asked.
I also like Chris Carson. I don't know that I'd be hesitant to give a ton of money to almost any running back, but I also like Chris Carson as a player. This is a little awkward, and I'm not hating on the running back. Sorry, Brian. And it's a little unprofessional of me because I'm at home doing the show, but there's a whole group of people like 10 feet from me. I hope they're not being too loud because I look over, I'm like, oh, is that the 2017 Jacksonville Jaguars? Oh, hi, guys. That's the 2017 Minnesota Vikings, too. Oh, there's the 2016 Atlanta Falcons and the 2015 Arizona Cardinals. They're all having a nice little party. There. Wait, the door just opened. Oh, the 2020 Buffalo Bills just walked in. It's a whole group of conference finalists never to be seen again. It's like, oh, no, this is the new era. We're here to stay. No, you're not. You're actually going to be back in the wilderness. You had a nice magical run, and now we're done with you. And so here's the situation, Wilds, for the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen's going to go from $6 million to $46 million, something like that. Cole Beasley, God love him, MC Cole Beasley just had the greatest season of his career. He's turning 32. Their best offensive lineman's a free agent. And they do currently have both of their coordinators, but one or probably both of those guys are head coaches within the next couple of seasons. And you add to that, the whole division's getting better. Your Patriots aren't going to be bad again. There's no chance. They're going to have a quarterback. The Dolphins, either Tua, I think Tua's going to take a leap this year getting healthier, but maybe they have Deshaun. Just seems like Deshaun Watson's going to play for one of the teams in the division. And so the division gets tougher. Your quarterback gets more expensive. You hang a little too much with Blake Bortles and the 2017 Jags, and all of a sudden you suffer a similar fate. So I am not yet ready, Wilds, to say they are going to be contenders for years to come.
Okay, well, I appreciate you doing the show with us because I know you have a lot of entertaining to do. It feels like you have about 300 people in your apartment right now. I'll go a different way. I think Josh Allen is so low right now of just a team that knows in general what they're doing. Like, hey, can we print up the media guides next year? The Buffalo Bills can say yes. Their opponents, most of their opponents I'm about to read off for next year, have no clue what they're doing. My beloved Patriots, do we know who's going to be on the media guide? No. How about the Jets? Hey, should we put Justin Fields on there? Should we put Sam Darnold? Should we mock up someone Deshaun Watson? They don't know. They're out. How about the Dolphins? Oh, we love Tua, except we also love Ryan Fitzpatrick, and we also love Deshaun. Don't know what they're doing. Colts literally don't know what they're doing, don't have a quarterback. They're out. Texans, they're just going to put a picture of a dumpster on fire for the media guide, say, here you go. Boom. Jacksonville knows what they're doing, but they're a terrible team. How about the other team? The Falcons, Arthur Blank, the owner of the team's like, I don't know, Julio, Matt Ryan, leave it blank, maybe just put the Falcons logo on there. The Steelers, Big Ben, is he retiring? I don't know, he might, don't know. And then the Saints, they also don't know what they're doing. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of their opponents next year have no clue what they're doing, Peter. But the Buffalo Bills do have the consistency that reminds me of the Patriots in the AFC East when we look around like, you guys don't know what you're doing.
You know what? You're right. The strength of schedule does matter, and continuity on that staff and the players that they have on that team certainly matters. I agree with you, Kevin. You got to look at the schedule. You got to look at who they play. But getting all their guys back is going to be huge as far as looking at their team now and what they'll be able to do in the offseason. They came up short this season. They'll have to build a lot in order to win next year, and I think they're willing to do it and able to do that as well.
All right, we got to set the NFL aside, talk a little NBA. King James delivering a vintage performance last night in Cleveland. Could he actually win the MVP in year 18? We discussed that.
Slow down.
Stick around.
Slow down.
Just reading the words. On Sunday, UConn goes back-to-back on Fox. First, the third-ranked women's team takes on number 17 DePaul. Then it's the men's team battling St. John's. Sunday, 12:30 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Time now for Stories to Start Your Morning, brought to you by Subway. We're talking some Lakers now. LeBron playing in Cleveland, his hometown, for the first time in 2 years. And while I can't seem to get anything done when I'm at home with everybody around, LeBron can. Season high 46 points as the Lakers remain undefeated on the road. Here's the King on being back home.
Home cooking, you know, you get an opportunity to see your mom and get a home cooked meal. Saw my uncle. Just felt good to be back in my, my haven, my rest haven, and that's being home. So, and also, obviously, you get inspired watching the greats play and, seeing Brady, see the things that he did with that team. That inspired me as well. But I just felt pretty good. I mean, as I have the whole season, I've been getting better and better as each game goes on, and felt good from the beginning and just trying to keep it going.
So, Nick, I'll start with you. Did LeBron make some sort of statement last night?
Yeah, and it's the statement he's been making over the last couple weeks, which is right now, this very moment, and it's a nice, clean part of the season. It's one of the reasons, by the way, tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern, the new NBA pyramid comes out. We've been setting your calendar to it.
Ooh, here we go.
But we're at the quarter quarter poll. 72 games, the Lakers have played 18, so you can start having season-long narrative discussions starting now. And at the quarter poll, LeBron James is the NBA's MVP. And that's not a hot take. That's not it's not a Lifetime Achievement Award. It is a guy who, despite only playing 32 minutes a night, is averaging 25, 7, and 7, doing it on 40% from three on 7 threes a game, is allowing the lowest opponent field goal percentage of any perimeter defender in the entire NBA for the #1 defense in the NBA on a team that is undefeated on the road. And he's doing it despite the fact that his co-star, the Robin to his Batman, is not having a first-team All-NBA caliber season yet. And last night, Brandon, he did it with a little style and flash as well, where he took 3 of the greatest players of all time and did little impersonations of them. It's like, hey, Kareem, all-time scoring leader, till I take that from you. Let me try out the sky hook. Oh, okay, it's not quite the sky hook, but it's close. Hey, Steph Curry, you just passed Reggie Miller in all-time three-pointers, second only to Ray Allen now. Oh, let me try your logo 3. How's that going to work during a fourth quarter comeback? And then the pièce de résistance to ice the game in the fourth quarter, a little vintage MJ baseline fadeaway for his 46th point of the night. Brandon, he is still somehow the best player in year 18. His team is the best, and they have been wildly consistent on both ends of the court. He is the NBA's MVP at the quarter poll of the season.
Nick, I don't like you right now. You left Wild and I 4 minutes to talk about some big topics right now. LeBron James MVP, LeBron James the GOAT. Like, buddy, you're not being a great teammate right now. So I'm gonna try to be quick. So first of all,
my apologies.
Like I want to, yes, MJ, watch out. LeBron James, this conversation about the GOAT. You know where I stand. You know how I feel. MJ is the GOAT, and it's not even a discussion. And everybody, including yourself, want to make it a discussion. But what this guy is doing right now, MJ is in trouble. This dude in year 18 is elevating to something that we have never seen before. He's never been comfortable just shooting the 3 and leaning on that first and that being his first point of attack. It's always been deferred. It's always been, let me get to the basket. Now you're seeing this guy. You're talking about baby hooks. You're talking about fadeaways, shooting 3s from the logo. It's phenomenal what he's doing. He could potentially do this for the next couple years, and he has AD to back him up. So it's phenomenal when we're talking about the GOAT discussion. But the whole MVP thing, Nick, you're just ridiculous. Come on. How can you talk about him being the MVP and just ignore Joel Embiid and what he's doing? Joel Embiid is having a lights-out year. Joel Embiid is averaging 40% from 3. Joel Embiid is averaging 58% from mid-range. Joel Embiid has been doing this, Wilds, all year. LeBron James has been doing this for a week and a half. So for me right now, Joel Embiid is the clear-cut MVP. But if LeBron keeps this up, he'll probably go down as the MVP. But you can't just say he's the MVP right now, Nick.
Well, here's the only problem I had with your statements, Nick. You are a guy who loves the numbers. You love the analytics. And you say it's not a Lifetime Achievement Award, but then at the very end, you sprinkle in year 18. well, then year 18 shouldn't really matter, because here are the stats, and you did this to me one time early in the show. I was like, ooh, he put me in a vice. He's 14th in points. Jaylen Brown and Zach LaVine have more. He's 7th in assists. Joker and Trae Young have more. He's 26th in rebounds. He's got fewer rebounds than Marvin Bagley. And he's 15th in PR, sandwiched between Vucevic and Bam. So if you want to say he's the MVP because of leadership and because he's done it for 18 years, that's okay. But to act like the numbers are MVP worthy alone, I feel is un-Nick Wright-like.
Okay, so Wilds, do you remember that feeling of the vice that you were put in? Get ready for it again. Because it was very interesting what you did there. You're like, hey, here's where he ranks in points, rebounds, and assists. Okay, here's the list of players averaging more than him in all three of those categories. Jokic and Doncic. Those are the only two guys. Okay, what's interesting about that? What's the other end of the court? Defense. No one would argue. Those guys give you 20% of the value of LeBron defensively this season. Jokic is a bad defender. Doncic is a mediocre at best defender. So if you just want to do numbers, points, rebounds, assists, Jokic, Doncic, LeBron. Now, but the Embiid thing is interesting. And by the way, I bet money on Embiid and Luka before the year. So this is against my interest. But right now, in defense of take integrity and fairness, LeBron's your league MVP. It's just what it is. What, Brandon?
Jenna, you gave us 5 minutes to talk about this. You gave us 5 minutes to talk about this. Unbelievable.
It's Jenna's fault.
I thought we had an extra hour. I was off. And we have a long season to still talk about this. Undisputed starts right now. We'll see you tomorrow, everyone.